been in Da Nang, Vietnam for the last week, just hanging out at the beach and relaxing, which doesn't always make for the best vlog content. So I thought I'd tell you about all the other fun things I've done since I've been here. First of all, Da Nang is a coastal town in the center of Vietnam, and it's a place that I wanted to visit so I could primarily relax, enjoy more temperate weather than I've been having in like Saigon, and catch up on some work. Fortunately, the hostel that I was staying at had this super cute balcony that I was able to hang out on for a little while, you know, shaded from the sun, but still like outside and like in all the craziness. A part of that relaxation involves some pampering. I went and got my hair washed again, which is something that I did in Saigon, but it was a different experience this time. So when I was in Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, I went to one of those like viral spas where they had like, you know, the waterfall, you know, wash, and it was really cool. But to be honest, the one that I had here in Da Nang was just as good and for the same price. So, and the one in Da Nang was even better because the lady actually like fully dried my hair. The one in Saigon, she kind of did a little bit and just kind of left it kind of like damp and just kind of, no thank you. And I was taking advantage of being in this part of the world and I got another foot massage. So next to my favorite smoothie stand, I found a massage place that had similar pricing to Thailand. So for a 1 hour foot massage, it was less than $8, which is a steal. And I try to take advantage of that as much as possible. It was a cute place and they provided me some kind of tea and yogurt, but then they put this like heated pad on the back of my neck and then a heated eye mask so I couldn't see anything and I like couldn't drink the tea, I couldn't eat the yogurt, and more importantly, I couldn't really like film anything. Turned out to be for the best because I thought during towards the end of the massage, I was feeling kind of like a wuss because it felt like she was hurting me, but then I just kind of like attribute it to the fact that like I haven't gotten a massage in a really long time and maybe I'm just like extra sensitive. No. I got home and like the next day I looked down and I have a bruise on my leg. So she was pushing really, really hard on the inside of my thigh. Needless to say, I have not been back and probably won't get another massage until that bruise kind of like goes away. While being out here, I managed to get up for the sunrise a few times, which was absolutely amazing and just beautiful. And you'd think with a sunrise time of 5:30 that it would be very peaceful when it's that, but you know, and it was in its own way, but the beach was always crowded with local seniors doing their morning exercise. You have the kids that stayed up all night and then, you know, we're up to watch the sunrise. And I even witnessed a proposal. I kind of got the end of it in a clip. I didn't want to be too weird, but it was really fun to see a proposal on the beach at sunrise. It was so romantic. So one of the things that Da Nang is famous for, really well known for, is something called the Dragon Bridge. Now it is just like a regular bridge that goes over the river, but they designed it to look like a golden dragon. So on weekends, at 9 p.m. at night, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, the dragon spits fire and spits water. And it's pretty spectacular to see. So the Dragon Bridge was a little too far away from where I was staying for me to walk, so I just hopped on a Grab. It literally cost me 60 cents. Grab is just kind of like Asia's version of Uber, and if you get a motorbike, it's even cheaper than a car, and you can get there usually faster because they can kind of like weave in and out of traffic, and just it's just all around a better situation. And my driver dropped me off across the street from where the Dragon Bridge was because I was told that this was a really good spot to watch the show, and I was literally shocked by how many people were there. I hadn't seen this many people even at the beach the entire time I'd been in Da Nang, and I was absolutely floored by how many tour groups were there, how many families were there, and how many other solo travelers were there. It was pretty chaotic, and there's no such thing as personal space out here, so you were always by somebody. There was a kid that threw a toy that literally went right by my face. Had I been 2 inches to the right, it would have gotten me right in the face. So yeah, but the show was pretty cool. Somebody had their drone up and it was kind of fun watching the, I don't know if it was army or somebody in the military or police running around with a walkie-talkie trying to find the operator. And again, I was at that time was thinking about how it'd be cool to bring my drone and, you know, film that, but not if not if people are gonna come looking for me and try to confiscate it. So yeah. But I ended up showing up about an hour early and having to wait around. I don't think it was worth the hour wait. I think maybe next time I would show up a little bit beforehand and just head into the crowd, watch the show for like 10 or 15 minutes. But it was really fun to watch all of the boats in the river that were all lit up and watching the show. And then also the rest of the bridge was lighting up and looked really pretty. So it was definitely worth it. So on a whim, I decided to check out this place called the Marble Mountains. It was something that was highly recommended. And so I thought, well, might as well go check it out. I had no clue what they were and had no idea what to expect. So I later learned that they're a group of 5 marble and limestone hills that are located just south of Da Nang City. They have entrances to tunnels and caves, and a lot of them have Buddhist sanctuaries and statues and pagodas kind of like spread throughout, especially on the main big one. So I went to go try to catch a bus because I do like to try local transportation. I waited on the side of the road for like 30 minutes. Bus never showed up, so I caught a Grab, I caught a motorbike. I was frustrated because it was twice the price, but I mean, it was $1.50, so I can't complain too much, and headed down to the Marble Mountain. There's one big one that you can visit and that everybody recommends that you visit because that's where like all the points of interest are that you really want to see. And you have the option to either pay at one entrance and hike up to the top. There's a bunch of stairs, but they're Southeast Asian stairs, so they're not super level or sturdy. Or you have the option to go to another entrance and pay 15,000 dong, which equates to about 60 cents, and take an elevator to the top. So I definitely did that because having hiked around mountains and caves and to viewpoints in Southeast Asia, I knew that if I could get to the top first without having to hike up there, I would be in a much better mood and I would enjoy it so much more and then walk down. I had such a great time wandering around to the various caves, checking out the pagodas, enjoying some of the freshly squeezed orange juice at the top, marveling at the views, and being pleasantly surprised that the weather up at the top was not that bad. It was still extremely hot, but there was such a nice breeze, and being on the coast and you could see the ocean, it actually was very pleasant, and I was very surprised and proud of myself at how not out of breath and sweaty I was. The one thing I will say that kind of took a little bit away from the experience was I was a little frustrated with how aggressive the locals were at the different entrances. So everybody was trying to help me find the entrance, and a lot of times that equates to people trying to get you to pay a little bit more and sometimes trick you out of finding the authentic experience. And the experience that I had was when I hiked down off of the mountain, I had called my ride through the app. And one thing you should know when you request a ride through the Grab app is they send you the name of the driver, the type of car or vehicle that they're going to be riding. So when it's a motorbike, you're either going to get a Yamaha or a Honda. They'll send you the license plate, and a lot of times you'll be texting back and forth with the driver. There are some people, some locals that will wear the Grab jacket. So all the Grab riders, I should say, wear a green jacket that says Grab. They have a green helmet that says Grab on it, and they have another green helmet that says Grab on it for the passengers. So some other locals will wear, Grab jackets, and they'll pull up the app and they'll approach you and try to trick you into thinking that there's something wrong with the app, but they're your driver and you need to go with them, and a way to essentially get your business. They're trying to make a living, and I get that. I was aware of that, but I was pretty shocked at how frequently it happened just at this location. And they would not leave my side, and I was showing them on the app and said, no, this is my driver, they are coming. And you could see a real life location, and as the driver comes up, they just kind of turn around and go back to the shade. And so it was just something to be aware of, and I'm not complaining. This is just me showing you the whole story. It's not just all, rainbows and sunshine. Sometimes you do have these situations where you have to be on your guard, and you sometimes have to get a little aggressive and know what it is that you're doing. So about halfway through my stay in Da Nang, I switched accommodation. So I was staying in a $6 a night hostel in the beachy part of town, which was a great deal. The only downside was they didn't have curtains on their bunks, so it was kind of, you know, you were kind of just out in the open and had like no privacy. I managed to secure a bunk kind of tucked into a corner, so I did have a little bit of privacy from, you know, the one end of another bunk, but whatever, it was great. But I did switch over to the room that I'm in now in a hotel that it's a 3-star or 4-star hotel for $11 a night. I love staying in hostels. I've primarily stayed in hostels this entire trip, but every now and then I need a place where I can relax, I can unpack, I can repack my suitcase, I can kind of take everything out, let everything breathe and get rejuvenated before I head back into a hostel. And this was just the perfect place to do it. So this new hotel is pretty close to a nightly street market, and I was super excited to go check it out because aside from Singapore, I think I've been to street markets in every town that I've visited, and it's a really fun place for me at least, to go get dinner. I don't like to shop, so I really just go for the food, and it did not disappoint. I'd seen some like social media posts about, you know, what to get at the night market in Da Nang, and I wanted to go check it out and see if that was like for real, for real. And it was so awesome and so delicious. So one of the recommendations I had was to get a whole lobster. So I'm actually not a big lobster fan. I prefer crab. I just like the texture better. I like the taste a little bit better. I have tried lobster multiple times in the past just to, you know, to see if I could like it again. But this experience was pretty fun. And I figured, you know, when in Rome or when in Vietnam, might as well get a whole lobster for less than $6. And I didn't get any footage of this, but I got to watch them grill it, and it was literally just soaking in butter and garlic, and it was such a trip trying to eat it with chopsticks because it was still like in the shell, so I had to like, you know, dig it out a little bit with the chopsticks, and it was kind of hilarious. And I didn't record any of like the struggle because I was literally having to use both hands to try to get this lobster out. So I also got these like mini pancake things that were iconic that were cooked with toppings, and I purchased those along with a kebab and some like pork wrapped mushrooms for takeaway so I could come back to my hotel to eat it here, because it was really difficult to eat at the market. So there's how it's set up is there's lots of stands, and then all around the stands there are like the iconic plastic tables and chairs. And when you sit at the table and chair, it doesn't matter if you're eating, if you have a drink in your hand or not, you will be approached by other vendors with their menu, asking if you want to buy something from them. I was literally sitting there trying to like eat my lobster. I had a smoothie next to me, and I had, I think 2 or 3 people come up, shove menus in my face to ask if I wanted something from them. I get it, they're trying to make money, they're trying to make a living, but it was kind of a turnoff, and so I didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. So I got everything for takeaway, came back to my hotel and had a nice little picnic, and it was so delicious. Speaking of yummy foods, there is literally a bakery that I can see from my window across the street that sells absolutely delicious banh mi sandwiches for 15,000 dong, which is 60 cents. And that's what I've had for breakfast every day. So the last activity I want to talk to you about is the free walking tour that I went on the other night. So I booked a food free walking tour through Guru Walk, and I've never booked a free food tour before. Usually, from my experience, you have to pay for the food tours. So I was really curious to see how this was gonna work. And the more I read, the more I realized it was a really good concept. So it's a free walking tour, but you pay for the food as you go along. And if you don't wanna eat the food, you don't have to pay for it. I was gonna eat the food. That's why you go on a food tour, right? Like, so you can experience the local culture, the local cuisine. You can, you know, learn things. You can order things and eat things that you either didn't know what it was, didn't know it existed, and probably never would have ordered it on your own because it was scary. I went to go meet my guide at the assigned time. I was a little early, so I kind of like sat at the intersection and just watched the traffic just work together. It's pretty amazing how the traffic works out here. And when I finally walked up to my guide, it turns out I was the only person that had booked this tour. So I literally got a free private food walking tour. I'll take it. It was probably one of the best tours I've had in Vietnam, and probably because it was just myself and my guide Tuan. He said that's the English way to pronounce his name, and I'm gonna stick with it. It's Tuan, T-U-A-N. And he was awesome. So I've been staying on the beach side of Da Nang, and then there's the river, and then there's like the actual city where all the locals live, and that's where the tour took place. So it was my first time kind of like really adventuring in that area, and he took me through alleys. He took me to places that only the locals eat, where, you know, we were surrounded by students because the food was good and cheap. And that was what I really, really wanted to experience. And as he was taking me to all these places, you know, before we even got to our first stall, he told me that everything that I was going to be eating, every dish would cost less than 20,000 dong, which is 77 cents as of, you know, end of April. What? Oh, I was so excited. So Tuan had me trying all sorts of dishes that were so new to me, and it totally expanded my palate. You know, I was a little nervous to try a few of them, but I didn't want to be disrespectful because this is what the locals eat. Like, this is their comfort food. This was the stuff that he grew up eating. And so I just tried everything. I found one bug in one of the dishes, but I got it out and I just wasn't thinking about it. So we're good there. But again, it was just the best tour. The food was great, the company was lively, and the atmosphere was what I wanted when you think about like really digging in and discovering a city, a place, and like really learning the culture. I have loved my time in Da Nang. It has been just the best place to relax, to, you know, do some touristy type things, to go swimming in the ocean, eating foods that are only found here in central Vietnam. And it was so fun to just kind of keep reminding myself that I'm in Vietnam. Like, I'm here, I'm doing it. I still sometimes can't believe it, and I love that. So this morning, I'm just soaking in the last few hours that I have with this big, beautiful, bright hotel room before I get picked up by a private car to take me to my hostel in Hoi An, which is a town that's about 30 minutes south of here, to check off another big bucket list item for me.